We've got to talk about what we just saw, because that game turned into a complete blowout. From the opening minutes all the way to the final whistle, it felt like one team had control of everything happening on the floor. And if we're being honest about it, the best player on the court tonight was Caitlin Clark. There's really no debate about that. From the moment she stepped onto the floor, the game started revolving around her. Now I'll be real with you. Before the game started, I expected something a little different. I thought we were going to see Clark mainly focusing on passing. You know, stepping into that traditional point guard role, moving the ball around, setting teammates up, running the offense, and letting the veterans handle most of the scoring. And to be fair, she did plenty of that. The passing was there. The vision was there. The playmaking looked exactly like what people expect from her. But what surprised me was how much she controlled the entire flow of the game. There's a big difference between being a facilitator and being the player who dictates the tempo of everything happening. Tonight she was clearly the one setting the pace when she was on the floor. The whole rhythm changed. The speed of the game picked up. The offense moved quicker. Everything looked more aggressive and more fluid. You could literally see the difference in real time. The moment Clark checked into the game, the message seemed obvious: push the pace. Her teammates picked up on that right away. You saw Rhyne Howard sprinting up the floor. Kelsey Plum was filling the lanes. Paige Bueckers was pushing forward in transition. As soon as a rebound was grabbed or a basket was made, players were already taking off down the court. Everyone understood that if you run the floor with Caitlin Clark, you might end up with an easy score. That's the impact she brings. There were several possessions where the defense barely had time to organize before the ball was already moving up the court, and Clark wasn't just tossing the ball randomly either. The passes were sharp, perfectly timed, and placed exactly where they needed to be so teammates could finish the play. Now yes, she ended the game with 3 turnovers. But the timing matters. One of those came with about 10 seconds left. Another happened with only 4 seconds remaining. At that point, the outcome was already decided, so those mistakes didn't really affect the game. One of them even came on a long pass attempt down the court toward Angel Reese that almost worked. It was aggressive, but it showed the confidence she was playing with. When you look at the numbers, the impact becomes even clearer. Clark led the team in plus-minus. She finished second in scoring, and she accounted for nearly half of the team's assists. Think about that for a second. In limited minutes, she was involved in a huge portion of the offense. This also brings up an interesting point about tempo. In basketball, there are moments when slowing the game down is the smart decision. Sometimes controlling the pace and working through half-court sets makes more sense, but there are also moments where speeding things up is exactly what a team needs, and tonight really showed that. When Clark pushes the pace, defenses start scrambling. Players get open looks. Transition opportunities start appearing everywhere, and suddenly the offense becomes extremely difficult to stop. That's why tonight stood out so much. She played just 19 minutes and finished with 17 points and 12 assists. 17 points and 12 assists in under 20 minutes. That kind of production is wild. And when you break it down further, it looks even more impressive. Several of those assists led directly to 3-point shots. If you total the points created off those plays, Clark was responsible for roughly 33 points in less than 20 minutes on the floor. That's elite efficiency. The plus-minus number also tells a huge part of the story. She finished at plus-35. Plus 35 in only 19 minutes. Obviously, rotations matter and no one plays the entire game in that setting. But if you tried to stretch that impact over a full game, the margin would have been enormous. Now beyond Clark, there were some other strong performances too. Rhyne Howard was excellent. Honestly, if someone argued that Howard deserved player of the game, I wouldn't push back too hard. She attacked the defense, played confidently, and kept scoring pressure on the opponent all night. But even with Howard playing that well, the player driving everything still looked like Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Plum had a decent outing. Nothing over the top, but she did her job and contributed when the team needed it. Chelsea Gray, though, seemed to have a tougher night. Rhythm just didn't look quite right, and some of the decisions didn't seem like the usual level people expect from her. Kalia Copper had a mixed performance too. She was aggressive getting to the basket but missed a couple of layups that she normally finishes. Now we should also talk about Paige Bueckers, because early in the game she looked a little tense. That's not meant as criticism. The moment was big and sometimes players need a little time to settle in. At the start it seemed like she was pressing a bit offensively, but even while her shots weren't falling, she was still making an impact on defense. She was picking up players full court, applying pressure, and doing the little things that help a team stay competitive. As the game went on, she started to look more comfortable, which is a good sign, because there's no question that Paige Bueckers is one of the most talented players on the roster. Sometimes it just takes a few possessions to find your rhythm still. The spotlight tonight belonged to Caitlin Clark. She played with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing exactly how much influence you have on the game. Not in a flashy or arrogant way, just calm control. Angel Reese also deserves a mention. She played solid basketball. She wasn't asked to carry the scoring load, and that's fine because her role is more about defense, rebounding, and physical play inside. She handled those responsibilities well. She grabbed boards, protected the paint, and competed defensively throughout the game. At one point she had 4 fouls, which shows how active she was battling around the basket for what the team needed from her. She delivered. Dakia Hami also had some nice moments running the floor and finishing a couple of easy baskets in transition. One thing that stood out, though, was a stretch in the third quarter where a veteran-heavy lineup struggled. There was a sequence with players like Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, Copper, Hami, and another experienced player on the court together. During that stretch, the offense slowed down quite a bit. The spacing looked tighter and the overall energy felt different compared to the faster groups. That difference actually highlighted something pretty important. The team simply looks quicker and more dynamic when Caitlin Clark is running the offense. Credit also goes to the opposing side because a few players fought hard and showed real effort. One player in particular, a tall power forward around 6 feet who handled some point guard duties, created interesting mismatches because of her size. She had a clear height advantage over Clark and tried to use it when bringing the ball up the floor. But even with moments like that, the overall level of play was obvious. There were clear tiers in this game. Players like Monique Billings and Ray Burrell are solid professionals. They absolutely belong at this level. But when you're talking about top-tier international competition, the difference in skill level becomes noticeable. That's just part of sports. There are levels to it. And tonight, the highest level on the court was clearly occupied by players like Caitlin Clark and Ryan Howard. Looking at the bigger picture, performances like this say a lot about the future. It's becoming harder and harder to imagine Team USA moving forward without Caitlin Clark playing a major role. When you think about the 2028 Olympics, it's easy to picture her as one of the starting guards. Her ability to push tempo, create offense, and set up teammates brings a completely different dimension to the team. There's been a lot of debate online about guard rotations and who should run the offense, but games like this simplify the conversation. When Caitlin Clark is controlling the pace, the entire team becomes more dangerous. And tonight was a great example of that. A dominant performance, a comfortable win, and another reminder of what she can do when the offense runs through her. Interview 1020.
Don't worry about the body. I think that was kind of the mental battle. It's like trying to get over that aspect. Like, don't think about it, don't worry about it. Like, you put all the time in that you can to be in the best position you are. And I feel great. So I think my mentality coming in was just play really, really hard. Like, I think this is such a different scenario for me rather than the WNBA season. It's like, a lot is kind of on my shoulders to create and do a lot of things. Obviously, here you're surrounded with 11 other players that are so talented and people that have won gold medals. So my focus was just play really fast, really up tempo. I know that's what I'm good at and what I can bring to this team. And people finish really well, we run the floor well, and then people made a lot of good shots.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, great. B plus. That's really better, Thank you.
And all right, that's going to wrap up this breakdown. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Caitlin Clark was clearly the player of the game? Or would you give that honor to Ryan Howard? Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more reactions and basketball breakdowns.